guys, welcome back to another video here on Reaper's Rings. Today we're going to be making some jewelry. I recently got a rolling mill and I've really been trying to play around with it and make random things with it. One's going to be an engagement ring, one is a like twisted metal, I want to say rigatoni. I don't know what pasta it reminds me of, but it reminds me of a pasta. And then my camera died. It didn't. It's just been deleting a lot of my footage and I didn't want to spend the entire day filming and then have half the footage be gone. So I filmed the rest on my phone. Quality still is okay and I'm doing voiceovers instead of talking to my phone so it sounds better. Hey guys, so I just got a rolling mill and I really wanted to test it out. So I'm going to be trying to make a simple engagement ring and a twisted designed bracelet. I already have the shape of the bracelet that I wanted to go for. Twist on a classic design. So it's just like literally just like a twist regular cuff bracelet. So all I have to do is solder it to make it like a full bangle. The other ones, we're going to be using an itty bitty pear-shaped cubic zirconia and some strips of metal we used with our rolling mill. And I'm going to take you through the process of using my rolling mill and then getting into forming our rings and everything like that. So I went through the process of getting all of my scrap metal that I needed for my bracelet. I started out with a good amount and I dug a channel into my charcoal block and situated all of my scrap metal to form like one big wonky ingot. I don't have the means to get an ingot mold or an ingot maker or anything like that, so I found my own way of doing so with my charcoal block. It's easy, it's cheap, it's effective, it works. So I melted down all of my scrap metal and made some ingots. I also had melted down some gold. I wanted to try making something with that, and here you see now is the gold. It made like a really small amount because I don't have much, but you know, you work with what you get. So again, I went through the process of melting down all of my scrap metal into different portions based on the different projects. I was going to make like a wedding band for a man and another bangle, but I ended up only being able to have enough time to finish the engagement ring and twisted bracelet. So here you see me kind of rolling out the metals that I'm using. It does take a little bit of time, but it's fantastic. I got the specific rolling mill from Vever, I think is how you pronounce that. I 1000% would recommend it. It is so beautiful. It works wonderfully, and it was really cheap for how much rolling mills can go for. This was a perfect item to get, especially because I'm very frugal when it comes to getting anything for my business. I hate buying stuff for myself, so when I have to buy stuff for my business, it feels like I'm getting stuff for myself. So I put it off to the very last second until it's like a mandatory thing that I need to do. The cool thing about this rolling mill is that you're not limited to just making sheet metal. You can make square wire, half round wire, and I figured out a way how to make fully round wire. So I quite literally can make anything I want with this thing. I've always been a little self-conscious with my jewelry creation process just because I have to work from my bedroom. I don't have the space or the freedom to work with a giant torch or all these big equipment items because I don't have the space. So because of that, I've been very limited in what I can and cannot create, and this thing has opened the door to making a lot higher quality pieces and more advanced pieces that I didn't think I'd be making up to this point now. An example, not only can I make bezel wire myself with my scrap metal or sheet metal or bands or, you know, prongs, wire, I can quite literally make any type of metal part or component that I need for jewelry creation, and the options are endless. So I'm so ecstatic that I got this. And if you've been putting off getting one, or you've been thinking about getting one, or you're a beginner jeweler and you're trying to go from metalsmithing like basic bezel rings or something like that and work your way to engagement style jewelry or anything that's more advanced level jewelry, get a rolling mill. This is the one from Vever. It is fantastic. I love it so very much. One thing I realized after watching back all the footage is that I don't have an actual clip of it, but at the very top of the machine is where you adjust the tightness level of the rolling. So as you can see, this piece of metal that I'm rolling keeps getting smaller and smaller and thinner. I'm going to the very top of the machine to tighten the rolling mills tighter and tighter together to get the thicker or thinner version of the metal that I'm looking for. Another thing that I've got recently, if you can't tell, is a microphone. Sadly enough, it doesn't work for my phone or my camera. I have to get like an adapter cord for that, but it does work for my computer, so I can add cool voiceovers to my YouTube videos and hopefully elevate the quality of content that I'm putting out there, especially with me trying to really push YouTube and go all in for it. So if you're liking this kind of content where I am doing a little voiceover versus talking into the camera, and I'm giving you more of like the background voicing and kind of storytelling of this, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know if you like this kind of style video versus my other ones. So after I got all of the basic shapes played out, such as the band, the wire needed for the prongs, and the additional band, like the little under arch part that keeps your ring stable, I completely forget what it's called. I went through the process of annealing. Annealing is where you make your metal softer. When you're shoving your metal into that rolling mill, it does harden and work hard in the metal, so it is like almost impossible to bend with your hand strength. So annealing is heating the metal back up. It allows the contents of the metal, the materials, the molecules, that's the word I was looking for. It helps the molecules to relax, chill out, and makes it easier to mold your pieces. Otherwise, your metal becomes brittle and it quite literally will snap when you try to bend it. So this allows you to be able to rework your metal into a shape that you need, such as a ring band or into prongs or a bracelet shape, or to twist the metal into that twisted metal design we went for that bracelet. So I am going to speed up this process here real quick. I essentially just took my nylon rubber pliers and formed my ring. I don't use regular pliers when I do this because I do leave nicks and scratches that is just unnecessary when I have the capabilities of using my nylon pliers to form my ring shapes. And I just, again, go through the process, bending it into the shape that we need and checking the size, making sure that we get to the desired size of ring that we're looking for. I then start to form the other parts and components, such as the basket, I believe is what it's called in the terminology world of jewelry. It's the part that holds your stone up. So this is where the prongs will connect to, again, hold your stone into the ring so that it doesn't go flying out, to where you can actually wear the stone on your hand. So I just form it into a teardrop shape, and as I'm doing this, I try to be very careful not to put any unnecessarily nicks or marks, like I said earlier, and I always check it with the stone before cutting. You always want to do that. You never want to form your components without checking it against the stone or against whatever pieces that you're making. And because I made a flat cut, I had to recut the edges of these so that they would sit flush, so that the soldering process would go a lot easier. After checking it against the stone, I set up all my stuff to start soldering. So I started our bracelet first. This one did take a lot longer to solder just because I do have an itty bitty baby micro torch. It quite literally is called the micro torch. This is like the ones you use for creme brulee and cooking and stuff. It's not something you should be using for jewelry creation, but it's all I have access to. Again, I work in my bedroom. I can't have a giant propane tank under my desk or anything like that. That'd be quite dangerous. Which actually reminds me of a little story where when I first started making jewelry, I had asked the person that I worked for, who was a master jeweler when I worked at a jewelry store, I asked him like what tools I would need to start soldering on my own. And I had mentioned like, oh, there's a micro torch at Harbor Freight that I was looking at because it's small, it seems efficient, whatever. And I explained, and he got so pressed about it. He was like, you can never make jewelry with that. It's not capable of doing it. And he straight up called me stupid for thinking I could do it. And I mean, look at me now. I've made all of the jewelry that you have seen on this page with my micro torch. So I'm just showing it off, I love my micro torch and I won't be upgrading until it is absolutely necessary to. I'm not saying this to bash him. I'm sure that he probably thought that I really couldn't use my micro torch for it, but I'm just showing off that I am able to, and you're wrong. Anyways, here you see me soldering my components together, the prongs and the basket for our ring. So this is a very important step. You have to make sure everything sits flush together. I am using Hold It clay, specifically wolf clay. I got it from Rio Grande. This stuff is my ride or die. I will never be able to make stuff without it. It literally is fantastic. It keeps all of your pieces together while soldering, and it's just fantastic. If you need help soldering components or you find it difficult, I 1000% recommend the Hold It clay from Pepe Tools or the Wolf clay from Rio Grande. I'll link both in my description if you have no idea what I'm talking about. It might give you a little bit of a good idea of what you're looking for. I then set up my ring base, my band, that's the right word. I set up my band with the weird little part that keeps your ring secure. Again, I forget what it's called. I'll have the word up on the screen. And I set it up again with my wolf clay. Beautiful, beautiful product. And I started the process of soldering it together. You guys don't get to see that, unfortunately, because my phone storage filled up and I had to go through the process of deleting like 1,000 videos I had saved on my phone. But that's okay. You guys know what the gist is. It's just soldering those two components together. You've seen it many times on my page before. After that, we went through sanding, filing, polishing, all of that. We filed away all of the soldering spots because you don't want that weird little darker gray spot on your jewelry. If you do make jewelry and you see that on a bracelet or a ring, you see like a weird dark line or dark spot on your silver, that might just be the soldering and you might need to get it to a jeweler to remove it. I didn't know that when I first started making jewelry, and all of my pieces were covered in these random gray, darker spots. And I was like, why is it tarnishing so quickly? No, it was just a bad solder job because I was a beginner. The funny thing is I still consider myself a beginner, even though it's been almost an entire year of metalsmithing for me. I don't know if it's because I'm self-taught or maybe I just see other jewelers out there and they're like so exquisite in their creations that I feel this way, or it's imposter syndrome. Probably. That's probably the reason. But I really do feel like I'm still just a beginner and I have so much more to learn, which when it comes to jewelry, there are so many techniques and different things that you can learn in jewelry making and just jewelry in general that the list is endless and you probably will never learn everything, but you can always try, Anyways, I am now starting to file away and shape our ring. I wanted to have a little bit of a tapered edge towards the stone to really make it pop. It isn't a very big stone. I believe it's the dimensions of a 1 carat stone. And so I really wanted to taper in the edges towards the stone so that it made the stone pop more and made it look a little bit bigger. I then started to take my ball burr and drill in the little seat for our stone. When you're doing anything with stones with a point, such as a marquise or an emerald, well, I guess not emerald, maybe like a radiant cut or a pear cut, obviously, because that's what we're using. If you have any stones with a point in it, you really have to be careful because you can chip that point so easily if you don't make the seat for it or the metal surrounding the point. If you don't really cup it to the point and curve it to it, it can just chip very easily. I accidentally chipped many stones like this because of that. I didn't have the proper seating for my stone. I didn't have the proper format for my stone to sit there while I'm setting it. It just ended up getting chipped. So I worked through the different grits of my sanding wheel. You always want to start with the lowest, such as 320, and work your way up to, let's say, 2000. I'm not quite sure the exact number of grits of the things that I use. I use the Pepe Tools grinding wheels. I'll also link those in the descriptions below. I have never been able to get as clear of a polish and sand on my rings until I started using these. I definitely need to order more and different shapes of them. It is a little difficult getting in between and getting into like the inside of the ring band with these just because I did order the bigger sized ones, but they're fantastic. I love them. I think they work wonderful. The only thing about the filing and sanding process for me is that it takes so long. I feel like that is like way longer of the process when it comes to jewelry making, which is fine. You should find love in every part of jewelry making, or I guess your craft, whatever craft you're doing, but it does take frickin' forever. So I then started to polish. I used jeweler's rouge, and you just go through your piece and polish every little nook and cranny you can possibly think of. And don't forget, polish is technically a type of sanding and a type of grit. It can wear and tear on your jewelry. So if you hold your polishing wheel on one spot on your jewelry, you're going to have a weird looking dent. Don't forget this. I've done that a time or two where I forget that this material that I'm using, jeweler's rouge, isn't just like a shiny little polish. It does have grit to it, and it will take away your metal if you hold it down on a spot too long or you apply too much pressure. When you're using power tools, you want the tool to use the power, and you want the tool to be the power, not you. So when you apply too much pressure, it just causes your tool to work too hard, and then damages can be done. One thing you always want to remember is before you set your stone, you need to have the clearest and shiniest, most polished part on the inside, because when you have your stone sitting up against your metal and it's like blackened or it's tarnished or whatever, that'll show through on your stone and it'll affect the way that your stone looks. So you want to make sure that you have your insides, where the seat that your stone is going to sit in, the prongs, everything like that. You want to make sure that it is at its most polished state before you actually start setting your stone. At this point, we set our stone up in our vise. This is one I got from Harbor Freight. Again, it's the bare minimum when it comes to price, but it works, and that's all I got. So I set up our ring to start setting our stone, and I left a good amount of prong to work with because I would much rather have a lot more metal to work with versus too little and have to remake the ring entirely. So after setting our stone into our setting, I used the back end of my pliers, which are like rubber, so it's like a lot softer, and I pushed our metal over our stone, and this is essentially just keeping the stone secure so that I can cut the prongs and shape them to the actual like prong look of them. We're going for claw prongs for this. I absolutely adore how claw prongs look on rings. It looks like a little talon, like an eagle talon holding your stone in. It's very elegant, very fairy tale like to me. I've always loved claw prongs over any other type of prong. There's a very rare occasion where I will not prefer claw prongs over like regular prongs. I did make a little edit compilation of me snipping off the prongs. It's very satisfying to listen to, so I hope you enjoy. Here I go in with my pliers, and again, I'm just tightening the prongs against the stone, making sure it is a very secure fit and that our stone isn't going anywhere. With claw prongs, usually they keep it more secure than like the regular beaded prongs anyways, because there's more metal holding the stone back. But after doing that, and trying to secure our prongs, I accidentally overworked one and it snapped right off. So I had to go through the process of setting a new prong in, but that's okay because it gave me a little bit more learning experience. I had to go through the process of soldering on the prong again, repolishing, re-sanding, all of that. Had added so much time on our plate, but I'm very glad that that happened because I would much rather have a prong snap off in my possession while I'm working it versus while I'm wearing it and then the stone fall out. So very happy that it happened here now versus me wearing it out and not realizing that that prong was weak and my stone falling out. And here are our finished pieces. We have our pasta looking bracelet, a very simple twist on a classic design. I adore this bangle so much. I've been wearing it nonstop and I just took product photos. So I'm very excited to upload this to the site in both silver and gold. Imagine this baby in gold. Oh my gosh, it would be so stunning. I cannot wait till someone orders that and I can make it for them. And then, of course, we have our engagement ring. And when I tell you I'm so genuinely proud of myself for making this, I've been really wanting to elevate my jewelry creation. And I feel like this really has given me the opportunity to do so. This is probably the most difficult ring I've ever made, but it was so worth it. So if you're looking for engagement rings or custom jewelry, anything like that, let me know. And I would absolutely adore working up designs with you and getting your dream piece of jewelry made for you. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video where we made an engagement ring and a twisted bangle with my new rolling mill. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you do feel so inclined, and leave any prayer requests in the comments down below and I'll be praying for you. And yeah, I'll see you when I see you. God bless you guys. Love you. Bye. Mwah.